Hello, everyone. I am Hanna. I'm an evolutionary astrologer. Welcome back to my channel. And if you're new here, welcome. I'm so happy you're here. Let's talk about this new moon coming up on June 14th at 10:54 p.m. Eastern Time. This is going to be 7:54 p.m. Pacific Time. And this new moon, as you can see on the chart on the screen, this new moon is happening at the 24th degree of Gemini. So, first of all, do you have any planets in Gemini? Do you have any angles? Do you have any important placements between roughly, more or less, around 20th to 28 degrees of Gemini? So that's the first thing you need to check on your chart. Same thing in regards to Virgo. Any placements in Virgo around those degrees, any placements in Sagittarius and Pisces. Because if you do, this new moon may be especially significant for you. So pay extra close attention to what unfolds over the coming weeks. Now, what are the themes of this new moon? What messages is this new moon bringing to us? First of all, every new moon, this happens every month. So every new moon is a beginning. It's a time of planting seeds, a time of initiation, a time of setting intentions for what we want to grow over the next lunar cycle. So think about how the moon is dark during a new moon. We cannot see her light. And symbolically, this is really inviting us to go inward. So instead of rushing forward, new moons are really that special time for us to pay attention, to listen, to reflect, to become quiet enough to hear what it's trying to emerge from within. So, in fact, actually, the few days leading up to the new moon, what we call the balsamic phase. So, this is going to be particularly June 12th, June 13th, the day of June 14th, because this new moon is happening at night in the US, right? So, those days are often a really good timing for, it's a really wonderful time and days to slow down, to spend a little less time doing and a little more time listening. It's a time for reflection, really reflecting on the previous lunar cycle. So, what did you learn? What shifted? What became clear? Are you ready to leave something behind? All these different questions. What lessons did life bring you over the past month? And also, what new seeds are asking to be planted now? So, you do a lot of reflection, a lot of thinking, a lot of spending time with yourself. And then, as we move into this new moon, right on the evening on June 14th, we enter now the world of Gemini. Gemini is all about information. So, what are the themes that you should really pay attention during this new moon, during those days? Information, communication. It's all about learning. It's all about curiosity, questions, conversations, ideas, insights, news. It could be about writing. It could be about teaching. It could be about storytelling. It could be about connection, networking. It's a very social, Gemini carries that social quality to it because Gemini wants to know, it wants to understand, it wants to gather information from many different sources. So it's the sign of the eternal student. So think about how this lunar cycle is tied to those themes. So this entire lunar month, this entire lunar cycle may bring opportunities to learn something new and actually more than one thing. So this is maybe through a course, through a book, through a podcast, a teacher, a conversation. Maybe you're traveling somewhere. The internet is, of course, a huge source of information, or maybe simply by paying closer attention to the world around you. So this new moon, Gemini reminds us that learning doesn't only happen in classrooms, right? Even a conversation can change your life. Even, one question can open a door you've never even considered before. And sometimes one piece of information can arrive at the right moment. So one thing I want to mention about this new moon in Gemini is that even though new moons are generally quieter, as I was saying before, it's a time that, can bring more reflection. It's inward focused. Gemini itself is not a quiet sign, right? Gemini is about movement and stimulation and conversation and questions and that information flowing from one place to another. So if it's reading or writing or speaking or listening or teaching or learning, sharing ideas, making connections. So this new moon does invite us inward because that's what a new moon is about, but it doesn't necessarily do just through silence. For some of us, this reflection may come through, all these different activities and all these different conversations. Maybe it's a book that finds us at the exactly at the right time, or maybe it's through something you listen in a podcast or a class or some sort of a meaningful exchange with a friend, with a loved one, or pay attention to the stories and the thoughts you're having. Maybe it's a question or a thought or an idea that we can't stop thinking about. Sometimes it's so subtle, but it's still very magical. Or perhaps it's a piece of information that suddenly comes in through any of those sources and changes our perspective. Gemini also reminds us that our words really matter, right? That our stories, the stories we tell ourselves matter, and the conversations we engage in and the information we consume. So this new moon is especially asking us to become more conscious of what we're feeding our minds. Because whatever we repeatedly expose ourselves to eventually shapes our minds, our realities, our lives. So pay attention to this. Pay attention to the thoughts you're having. Are they of good quality? Are they life defeating or life enhancing? Another theme here, Gemini is also connected to siblings and cousins and neighbors and classmates and also our local environment. So for some of us, this new moon may bring important conversations and developments and all sorts of opportunities or new beginnings involving these relationships. It's a great time to reconnect with a sibling or meet a new neighbor or studying something new with a group or with a friend. If you have information, maybe it's a great time to also start teaching or join a community that's going to expand your mindset or simply become more engaged with the people and the environment around you. Sometimes Gemini reminds us that the opportunities we're looking for are much, much closer than we realize. And at the same time, every sign has its challenges. One of Gemini's challenges can be information overload. So too much, too many voices, too many books, too many opinions, too many headlines, too many tabs open, symbolically or literally, and too much noise and too much stimulation. So this new moon invites us to become more intentional about what we consume mentally. What are you feeding your mind? Again, what stories are you telling yourself? What information deserves your attention? And also, what information doesn't deserve your attention? Because wisdom and knowledge is not just simply collecting more information, right? Wisdom requires discernment. I also want to mention to you, so you see on the screen the chart of this new moon, and you see the moon and the sun inside the green circle. That's the new moon at the 24th degree of Gemini. But we also have to look at the ruler of this new moon. So whenever we work with a new moon, one of the first things we want to examine is the ruler, because that ruler, wherever sign it's in, will give us a great deal of information about the flavor of of the lunation. So since this new moon is happening in Gemini, the ruler of Gemini is Mercury, and Mercury is currently in Cancer. Very soon, this Mercury will turn retrograde. This is important because Mercury in Cancer processes information very differently than Mercury in Gemini, for example, because Gemini gathers facts. But Cancer, this Mercury in Cancer is also asking us, how does it feel? Gemini wants information, wants to learn. Cancer wants meaning, and it's all about our emotional memory. Gemini is about analyzing things. Cancer is about remembering things. So a lot of this new moon, a lot of this lunation can come, the type of information that we are receiving, that we're gathering, that we are exchanging can also be a lot about memories, emotions, family history. It can be about belonging. It can be about our personal experiences, our personal worlds. So while this new moon may bring a lot of information, Mercury in Cancer reminds us not to stay just in our heads, not just to learn with our heads, but also to listen to our intuition, to pay attention to what resonates emotionally as well, and to notice which conversations touch something deeper within us. So this can be a really great time, a really powerful time for family conversations or to spend time with your loved ones, to explore your roots, to reflect on childhood memories, or have conversations about our personal worlds, about our feelings, about how things feel. And yeah, and really discovering also how old emotional narratives may still be shaping our current reality. Cancer is also very much about emotional safety. So some of the questions that may arise can be about what helps me feel emotionally secure. What stories do I carry, about home, about my family, about belonging, about being cared for or caring for others? What, which of these stories need to be updated or rewritten? Remember, new moons are about new beginnings. One more thing about this Mercury that I want to mention to you. If you look at the chart, Mercury in Cancer is not alone. It's conjunct, which means it's together with the asteroid Hygeia. Hygeia is one of my favorite asteroids in mythology and astrology. Hygeia is deeply connected to health, healing, prevention, and all the daily choices that really support our long-term health and well-being. So it's not just about, while many people think about health only when something goes wrong, Hygeia is really interested in prevention, in our lifestyle, in our habits, and all our daily practices, because it's the small choices that we make every day that eventually become our health. So because Mercury represents information and Hygeia represents health and healing, this new moon may bring important information related to our well-being. Perhaps you will discover a new health practitioner or a new healing modality or, a piece of research or some sort of a diet change or a supplement, a habit, a practice, something that can enhance your well-being or fix a problem that you might be having. Maybe this is a simpler, a deeper understanding of what your body has been trying to communicate with you. So also pay attention to the information arriving around health and wellness during this lunar cycle. It may be a little bit more important than it first appears. And as a matter of fact, I want to take this opportunity to invite you to my upcoming class at Synchronicity University. We will be exploring the asteroid goddesses, including Hygeia. Hygeia is one of the goddesses we're going to be exploring and learning about together because Hygeia is essential. She's absolutely fundamental in medical astrology because she can show potential vulnerabilities in our charts in these areas that may require greater awareness and how we can support our health through prevention and through conscious lifestyle choices. So we're going to talk about everything, her mythology, her symbolism, practical application, how to find her in the chart, how to interpret your natal Hygeia in your birth chart. So if you're interested in astrology and health and healing and understanding your chart on a deeper level, I would absolutely love to have you there to join me. And if you join by June 30th, this is only going to be $5 per class. So it's a really, really, really good price. You'll find the link in the comments below if you would like to learn more, if you'd like to sign up. Absolutely love to see you there. And remember, Gemini, this new moon in Gemini is not just about collecting information. It's about making connection. It's about curiosity. It's about being open to new possibilities. But the Cancer side of it, this Mercury in Cancer, speaks about information that needs to touch you and move you, and you must feel connected to it. And Hygeia brings healing as well, right? So pay attention to what's coming to you, to what's, happening in your mind and within you. The books, the messages, the invitations, the synchronicities, the ideas, they may contain important seeds that grow into something much, much larger over the coming month. Happy new moon, many blessings, and I will see you in the next video.